giving you that primordial look. I just happened to think this morning, while I'm drinking my coffee, made some connections. Elm. I don't know how you pronounce it because I'm not from that part of the country, but Wychelm. W-Y-C-H. And I'm not making fun of you if you're from the UK, but that was one of a couple Stone Age bowwoods. Actual stuff. W-Y-C-H, Wychelm, or U. I would say that when I'm thinking of the actual authentic European Stone Age bows, those are your two choices. Now here in America, we have Pacific Yew, which, you know, is yew. It has to be yew. And rock elm. Now you know about Dutch elm disease, right? That has created a situation where, even though I'm in Michigan, which is kind of dead center in the range of rock elm, Alnus, I forget the name. This is Alnus americana here. Americana. It's like finding hen's teeth. Now let's jump a little bit here. Mark St. Louis. Mark St. Louis is probably one of the most understated, really. He's well known in the bow making community, but everyone hears about the other bow makers. Great bow makers, you know, the big YouTube superstars. But Mark St. Louis is, to me, he's a humble guy. He's not out there like the great YouTube superstars in bow making, but he's that guy to get stuff done. An old guy like myself. Mark, if you're watching this, I don't mean it as a slam. You're not old, you're well seasoned. Just like a good bow stave. But that leads into the third jump. Everything's related. Fire hardening. Now, that's the big thing now. That's the craze amongst the kids in bow making, fire hardening. And I have to say, with all deference, the superstars that are claiming that they rediscovered it, they need to give credit to Mark St. Louis. I believe, and I'm always right, not rich, but I'm always right, I think Mark St. Louis is the one that rediscovered it. Kind of. Because when I'm thinking of the science of bow making and this and that, I always jump to the science of woodworking and construction. Because the woodworking / construction people, they're the ones with the money behind to actually fund scientific research, testing, actual, real, by the numbers, engineering testing. And heat hardening / fire hardening is valid. You can even get lessened insurance if you build a structure that has been fire hardened, because it proves that it's more insect resistant, it's structurally more sturdy and strong, because it does change chemically composition of wood, the lignons and all those other things, klingons. It's more fire resistant, and so there is valid research in that. So number one, from an engineering standpoint, the numbers are there that fire hardening / heat hardening, fire is heat, is valid and changes the characteristics of wood. And then let's jump back over Mark St. Louis. Mark, I give you credit, man. I give you credit for rediscovering fire hardening, and then people will claim credit for it, whether or not intentionally, or, you know, they didn't hear about your research that came before them, and I did it. This is me. That irks me, really, because I work at being humble. And I will claim, I am the most humblest guy in the world. That makes me the greatest. That's irony. I'm just saying, Mark St. Louis is the man. Anyway, let's get back. Jumping to another subject. A fellow, I'm not going to pick out your name, Clayton, so don't worry. You're going to remain anonymous. Wants me to make a bow for him to bring on his African journey, hunting journey. and he wants to go with a Stone Age bow. And he's made some bows out of hickory and stuff like that, but you know, if you're going towards the Home Guard, Målargebed, and I actually had a person from that region tell me how to pronounce that Målargebed. Not Målargebed, but you know, I butcher words too for fun. Go all the way. Go big or go home. Let's use an authentic wood. Even though there's some question, I mean, what is a Målargebed or a Home Guard? Because it's a regional thing, and many bows were made within those regions. So it just kind of, I want the one that looks like this kind of a thing. But anyway, getting back to it. Rock elm, which is our closest kin to the wych elm, rare as hen's teeth. But I've got Ulmus americana here. Now let's bring all this stuff together. This is clean. This is a clean stave, which means it doesn't have knots on it. This is almost a holy grail of wood. It's not rock elm. American elm is a little softer, but combine that with fire hardening, I believe I can create rock elm. So I have this beautiful stave, and I did, oh, it's heavy as heck. I did a little research with my draw knife right there, because I didn't paint the ends, and I've got some checking. The checking only goes in an inch. So, oh, with this 70-inch log that I cut, I have 3, possibly 4 narrow, deepened handled bows. And when I say deepened handled, I don't mean American style longbow. I mean authentic European style, going way back, which the handles weren't as deep as an American style longbow, exaggerated. And so I've got this wonderful stave. I've been having so much fun in my off time. I've got 12, bow staves, the triangular sections with the bark and almost down to one growth ring set. So I'm on a roll here. This is going to be, you can see them, 3, possibly 4 if I do it right. Wonderful, heat-treated elm Stone Age European bows right here. Now part of it, if I was to go and I was going to buy hickory staves or, you know, whatever, maple, oak, no big deal. The price could be kept relatively low because they are simple bows. But this, I don't know if I'm ever going to find a stave like this. This isn't Osage. There's a lot of Osage. You can just buy Osage. Try to buy this. And so, you know, I have to be honest here. I'm not a greedy person, but, you know, a sizable portion of what I'm going to charge for this is going to be for this log, because I probably won't be able to replace this ever or easily. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm so excited. And I'm also excited that Mark St. Louis told me about this. I was chatting back and forth with him about the problems of preparing elm staves and how they always warp. You can get one of these things, you can cut it into the triangular sections to make bows, and then it dries and it turns into like a map of Houston's interstate. Mark was the one who said, hey John, all you do is take your chainsaw and rip it down to the center lengthwise and let it dry for like a year, which this has, you know, and you're going to get a seasoned stave ready for solar kilning in your car on a hot summer day. But it's going to be stable now. When I cut this into the pie-shaped sections for the bows, it's not going to warp because it's mostly dry. There's curve. You cut wood, Gonna split it. You know, most woods you can just split and then dry. Unlike this stuff, you have to do this or you're gonna be screwed. Paint the ends, and you have to be patient. Bow making is patient. I'm gonna go over and say, certain people here that have asked me this, you cut your log, what have you, you split it, you paint the ends, take the bark off. I'd take the bark off before you do all the splitting just to save time, or it doesn't matter. Paint the ends. Put it in a dark, cool place for a week. Why not? You can spend an extra 6 days or 5 days. So it dries extremely slowly, because at first, the first week, you're going to be losing a tremendous amount of moisture, and then after that it slows down, and then to get down to the perfect 9-10% moisture level in here, it's going to take a long time. But that first week, boy, it just loses a lot of water fast. So let it dry very slowly in a cool, dark place without any wind blowing on it for the first week, and then you can start speeding up the drying. But yeah, this stuff, behold the elm. Behold the elm. This thing is amazing. I love elm. You take the bark off, you make your bow, you polish it all up, and then I'm going to work, I've got theories on fire hardening here. I'm going to practice on a few bows before I get to this one, because by the time I get to this one, it has to be right, my method for fire hardening. I don't know, I'm just so excited. You know, you should always have something to look forward to every morning. I'm not looking forward, perhaps, maybe I am, because I don't want to go to the gym. 186 cases are going to be sent to me this morning to process, stock, put in my cooler. That, not so much. This, a lot. Well, that's about it, I shall say. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. When I get home from work today after mining salads, I'm going to take the bark off of this and perhaps bother the neighbors with the chainsaw to cut this into the pie shape, and then dream of whole home guards and mulberry beds. Little known fact, there are examples, my Christopher Walken, there are examples of these bows that had the wider limbs going to the narrow needle tips, where the needle tips did not bend. But Callahan, I forgot his first name, sounds like a Clint Eastwood character, Callahan, did some measurements of this partial. That was partial, enough of it left so you could take measurements. And I followed that right down to the letter, and the limbs were wider, then it narrowed. Those tips bent. Those tips were bending, and it was a function of the differential and leverage throughout the limbs. And it's like, you can reduce the width, add a little bit to the thickness, and you do lighten the tips to make it go faster, and they will bend still. That actual home guard, even though there was various home guards, the one at the narrow tips, those tips did bend. And then they found, like in a glacier or something like that, an example where it was wide and then it was narrow, and those tips did not bend. You know, there's many ways to skin a cat, as they say. And there was not just one bow that came from that region, because there were not rules for making bows. So every individual person that made a bow, and there was a bigger percentage of those guys in that population than there are now, would experiment. That's how bows evolved, experimentation. When I make a home guard or a mulberry bed bow or home guard, you know, it's confusing. Because they didn't make it rules. I make the ones with the narrow tips where the narrow tips bend, because that's what I found out when I made a reproduction. Well, that is all. I'm going to finish my coffee. Have a good one, and thank you for watching.